Welcome back to the Everyday Faith Podcast from Eastside with today's faith-rooted principle. Hey there, welcome back. I'm Isaac Johnson. Today is May the 28th, and our rooted principle for the day is this: when you allow God's grace to transform your weakness, beautiful things result. When we allow God's grace to transform where we're weak, and we find this really principle come out in 2 Corinthians chapter number 12, verses 9 and 10, where the Apostle Paul is writing to the church at Corinth under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, and he writes these words. He says, "And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities and reproaches and necessities and persecutions and distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong." How in the world, you think about this, that the Apostle Paul says, therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecution, in distresses. I take pleasure in it. You know, it's hard to find pleasure when we're going through the valley, when we're going through infirmities. But yet Paul says that is when I'm weak, then am I made strong. In my weakness, when I reach the end of myself, then I can see the power of Christ. When you allow God's grace to transform your weakness. Sir Edwin Landseer, he was one of the most famous painters of the Victorian era, and his talent developed early, and he had the first showing of his work at the Royal Academy when he was just 13 years old. He was commissioned to do a number of official portraits of the royal family, and he even had a private drawing lesson that he gave to Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. But he probably was best known for his depictions of the natural setting and life in the Scottish Highlands. One day, while he was visiting a family in an old mansion in Scotland, one of the servants spilled a pitcher of soda water, leaving a large stain on the wall. While the family was out for the day, Landseer remained behind, and he used charcoal, and he incorporated the stain into a beautiful drawing. When the family returned, they found a picture of a waterfall surrounded by trees and animals. What he did was he used his skill to make something beautiful out of what had been an unsightly mess. Do you realize God works much the same way in our lives? The things that we think and we see as our weakness and our handicaps, and it can be used by His grace and become our greatest strength. The very things that He uses really to bring glory to Himself, rather than wishing that the stains, quote unquote, in our lives would go away. We should thank God for the infirmities. Seek His grace, that even through those things, and that those things can be used for His purpose. God's grace provides the strength to meet every single challenge and overcome every weakness in our life. When we allow God's grace to transform our weakness, beautiful things result. Thanks for joining us for today's Rooted Principle right here on the Everyday Faith Podcast. If today's conversation has encouraged you, be sure to share it with someone who might need it, and don't forget to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time right here on the Everyday Faith Podcast.